Drive. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. You guys asked, and actually I asked, and you guys responded, and so this is what I'm doing for you. I'm doing some day-to-day content, some lifestyle stuff, some just some content of me and the dogs, and kind of what I do with them day to day, as well as kind of get into the finer points of protection dogs, police dogs, some warrior dog content, all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my main man, Arrow, here. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about, for starters, kind of what I look for in a good protection dog. Arrow is going to a client here probably in a few weeks. And really the kind of the key concept that I want to talk about today is their confidence. If you see the way that he's walking around, obviously he's squatting to pee like any real man would do. The way that he's carrying himself, you see his tail, you know, it's up, his ears are up, he's bouncing around with confidence. That's how I want to see the dog come out every single time, and especially when I initially get them out. Now, I want to make one caveat. With most of these dogs, I import them from Holland or anywhere in Europe, several different places in Europe. And it's not uncommon for them when I first get them home, or when I first get them out of the crate, rather, from the airport, that they may be a little bit lost. They may seem a little unsettled. They may be a little bit apprehensive about coming out. While I don't like to see that, that's not a deal breaker or a red flag necessarily. Now, if 2 days after I've had them here and you know, they're still acting that way, where their ears are back, their tail's down, and they're a little bit unsure of kind of what's going on, and their confidence is not where I'd like to see it, then for sure that's a red flag, and probably something that I may wash the dog out for if it doesn't improve drastically fast. So that's one thing. But what I want to see, you know, as I get the dog here more and more, or as I work with him more and more, is I want to see that same level of confidence no matter where I'm taking him. So just the way that he's walking around right now, I want to see that if I take him to a strip mall, to, you know, a gas station, to Home Depot, is that, you know, the dog is really exuding that level of confidence, and just, as you can see, he's just bouncing around like he kind of owns the place and is super comfortable. So that tells me a lot about the dog. Now, I get questions all the time from people asking about, you know, if I send my dog to you, can you train, you know, my Labradoodle for protection, or even a German Shepherd or Malinois or whatever. And the short answer is maybe, but probably not. And the reason for that is that right there, is that, you know, just the level of confidence. I can tell that the dog is not full of himself. He's not, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're dominant or need to be dominant, but they need to have a level of kind of exuberance when it comes to how they carry themselves, that if it's not there, then it's not going to be there in the protection either, you know. So I like to get them out first, just work with them, you know, when they don't have a ball, when there's no, you know, bite work equipment around or anything like that, and I like to see them act that way. So that's going to tell me a lot about the dog. Now, when it comes to drive, kind of the next thing that I look for in a dog, and I'm going to break this up to where I'm not going to talk about bite work today. I just want to talk about drive and kind of social confidence and character and such. But what I want to talk about right now is just drive. Platz. Platz. If you'll notice, you know, his level of drive is on the high end of the spectrum for a protection dog for me. Now, you know, I don't want a dog, you know, that's on a police caliber necessarily. He's kind of right on that edge. What I'm looking for is a dog that has enough drive to play ball with, to be able to exercise, to be able to do some training, but enough to where it's not hard to control. Now, hard to control for me versus hard to control for you know, a potential client is a different story. So a dog like this, like I said, he's kind of on the top end of the spectrum. And as you can see, like, you know, it's high. It's not over the top where you can't hardly manage it. But it's high enough to where, you know, if that's going to somebody that isn't a dog trainer and has young kids, that's probably going to be more than I would like to see for that. So when I'm placing a dog with a family that has young kids, etc., I really like to try to select a dog that has a little less drive than what he possesses. He's social enough to where he's not going to hurt anybody on purpose in the family, kids-wise. But drive-wise, you know, you can imagine that level of drive with, say, you know, kids kicking a soccer ball or playing catch or roughhousing the pool, throwing stuff and whatever. With that level of drive, you know, they may knock a child over, things like that. So the client that he's going to does not have any kids, so I'm not worried about it. You know, he can be around them. It's just, again, if it's when you're living in a house, you know, and it's kind of the intimate nature with which people live and you know, coexist with their animals, I always try to err on the side of safety. So that's really all I want to talk about in terms of the first two characteristics that I look at. We'll do some bite work and show you kind of what he is capable of in there. He's an absolute beast in the bite work. He's just a really nice mix of a social dog and one where you know, you can do really anything with him, you know, and he can kind of fit into just about any environment. So I do want to talk a little bit about just kind of the daily routine. Typically when I have a dog in, you know, I'll work him here at my house on my property. You know, the dog is inside my house with me, you know, is around, you know, other animals and kids and just normal living environments where the you know, the day-to-day stuff, you know, vacuuming while the dog is eating and sleeping and things like that. You know, it's important to get that dog exposed to that kind of stuff. And, you know, I basically just make him my personal dog for that amount of time. So what I typically do is I'll get up around 6:30 or so, get him out, take him outside, and really just kind of let him stretch his legs, let him go to the bathroom, and that's really about it. You know, I'll spend 15-20 minutes, and I'll come out here with them most times. I don't like to leave dogs unattended typically. No good usually comes of that, so and I don't recommend doing it. So I'll come out here, not really a formal training session where I'm working with them a whole lot, just getting them out, spending some time with them, letting them go to the bathroom, stretch their legs, etc. Then I'll crate them for a couple hours, do what I need to do in the morning business wise, and then I'll usually knock out 3 to 4 formal training sessions that are, you know, between 10 and 15 minutes a piece throughout the day. While I'm working on all of those things, it's really the basic stuff of, you know, the formal 5 commands: sit, stay, down, heel, and here. You know, and with that, I literally just counted on my hand to make sure that I got all 5. Yes, I'm that guy. At any rate, making sure that they have the basic 5 commands down. From here, this is kind of the classroom that I talk about in my teamdog.pet online training. And so I do most of the behavior shaping and teaching back here, where there's not really a lot of distractions, where they can focus on what I'm trying to teach. From there, then it's really just taking those same concepts and proofing them out in town, you know, loading them up into a vehicle and making sure that they can travel both in a crate and outside of a crate. Also taking them to busy areas where there's a ton of distractions and kind of moving this training classroom out into the real world and doing that kind of stuff with them. So I do a fair bit of that as well. Once they're at that point, then you know, we'll get them kind of finished and polished up. Platz. Get them polished up and get them where they need to be, and then ultimately deliver them. But you know, it's little things like sleeping, Platz. You know, sleeping loose with a dog when there's things going on at night. You know, things like that are important to do with the dog if they've not done that before, and a lot of them haven't. So you know, just things like that, having dinner and keeping them on a dog bed while they're nearby, things of that nature. All the little day-to-day things that typically plague people that I got to make sure that you know, that he's dialed in. We do all of the bite work scenarios as well, which again, I'll get into those, but in a different video. But this is just kind of the basic stuff. As I bring him in, I do want to show you the method with which I do that each time, because it is important. A lot of people screw this up and don't reinforce the behavior that I'm looking for, which is him just going into a crate, and kind of show you what that setup looks like. Again, I cover all this stuff with my teamdog.pet online training, but for those of you who are not members, go ahead and choke yourself first, and then thus. Oh, good. That's what I was hoping for, was that you'd get completely fucking drenched right before we're supposed to go inside. Well, it's we're gonna delay that one. I'm gonna have to show you the him loading into the crate on the next video, because I'm gonna let him dry off here for a few minutes. But at any rate, I'll show you what that setup looks like in the next video, and that's it. That's all we're going to cover for now. Again, I'm going to do these videos pretty regularly, and we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. Drop some thoughts in the comments below if you have any questions, other things that you want me to cover, any questions about this video today. And again, we're going to get into it and post these pretty regularly to give you guys some insight into that stuff. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.